Hey, good morning. Welcome to our EarthScope Station Builder web tool session. So the motivation behind this web tool that we've built, it's a part of our CSP deliverables. If anybody needs a little bit more background on that, I'm happy to provide it. But this is essentially you can go to the next slide, please. Quick agenda. So I'll give you a little bit of background on the web tool scope, the development effort, and we'll then go into breakouts. So folks on Zoom, you will be in a breakout session. And then here we'll just count off and have people create groups that way. We'll do we'll try to do 5 or 6 groups. We'll spend about 25 minutes in breakouts. We have a set of slides that we're going to share with you that will walk you through the web tool and give you kind of a structured introduction to it. And then at 9:05 a.m. on the dot, we will be reconvening and sharing feedback across the entire group. So the main motivation behind this tool is basically we wanted to create an interactive planning tool for internal staff, for PIs, for their proposals. It can also be used as an educational tool. We just wanted to have something that gives a broad overview of how you might consider, not broad, a detailed overview, how you might configure a permanent station. And I'm just going to add that you can use this for a campaign reportable system. It's versatile, so please think about it in both ways. So the audience for this is, of course, the instrumentation staff, our community, the public, essentially anyone who has an interest in geophysical station configuration. This is a screenshot of the tool here. So you're going to get a set of slides again that'll walk you through how to use it. And I'm not going to do that here because part of what we want to do is just get a feeling for how intuitive this is. So that's kind of by design that we're not doing a live demo first. The development effort is this kind of cross-disciplinary team that we have here. We've been working on this for about 5 months. We have Mladen from the data services team. He's the person that's doing all the he's doing most of the work, quite frankly. Instrumentation team is the one that is bringing the requirements to the group. So what we need, our ideas are. And then the engagement team is helping us with all of the stuff that we engineers kind of doesn't come as naturally to us. So how do things feel and work in perspective from the outside of our bubble? So I'll just say it's been a really great team. Go ahead and press forward. And I just want to really highlight Mladen's all his efforts and his contributions. He's been amazing to work with, and he develops things at a speed. It's just awesome. So thank you, Mladen, if you're out there in Zoom land. So the way that we developed this tool is we took yesterday we talked about how once we started looking at our existing station designs, we created a huge matrix that had all of our common scalable and modular elements. So we took kind of the most important characteristics from that. We also looked at the old polar power through the night tool, which had been around, I don't know, probably 10 years ago or so, for those of you who remember that. And information from existing tools that we have that are power calculation tools, things like that. Took all of that together and put it into a requirements document that we shared with Mladen. After that, we just basically started building this tool. We have a weekly cycle on this, so we meet every week. We decide on what we're going to work on, come back the next week, and go through that cycle again. We did have one round of internal feedback, so we had a kind of a version 0.5, I'll say. We shared that with the staff, got some feedback from them, and then we spent the last month or so, and by we, I really mean Mladen, but we spent the last month or so building that feedback into the newest version that you'll be seeing today. And I want to thank everybody who took the survey. We got a lot of really excellent feedback. It was really helpful for us. So thank you if you filled that out. Yeah, so the next steps are for this feature are more feedback from this group here today. We are going to be adding some options for intermittent power. This slide might actually make sense after the presentation, but after you get to play with it. But yeah, actually, we'll just come back to that after. I think that'll make more sense. So I think Wade, we can exit out of there. We're going to share the slide decks with you. So yeah, Zoom people, please stay on Zoom. An EarthScope staff member is going to be your host. That's Scott Johnson. He's part of our development team. And then in person, once we get off the Zoom, we'll form about 5 or 6 groups. And I think that's about it. So please come back at 9:05. And Wade is going to share the slides in the Zoom chat for the Zoom folks and the meeting Slack for the in-person people. Started here. I can see, Laura, you're exploring the time window option. Yeah, actually, do you mind keeping your screen up, Laura?
I don't. Okay. No, it's fine.
Okay, so I just wanted to maybe start off with any initial thoughts. What do people think? Please jump in.
It's very cool. I like it.
Yeah.
Is it useful?
I think it will be for me anyway, once it has the PI stuff in it. Right now, I think it's not ready for public release because I think with the equipment cost and operational cost stuff, you're going to generate some heart attacks. But once it's adapted for PI use, I think it'll be a fantastic asset.
Great, thanks. Yeah. Any other thoughts? For those, yeah, go ahead, Chad. Hold on. We have a second mic. Yeah, sure.
On the with EarthScope displaying costs, I would be a little cautious with, are we making promises? Is there an enormous caveat that how often are we updating costs from what's being marketed?
Yeah, we brought up in our group brought up the idea that it should maybe be value so people don't freak out that they're going to get charged this, plus it's an estimate, and if they did want to buy it, they might not get the same cost. There would need, or charge something related to cost should be modulated.
Can I ask a question? I mean, for internal usage, I understand where having equipment cost could be really helpful for planning, let's say a new station that EarthScope's going to help to operate, or if you need to update something, whatever. But for public facing version of this website, is cost even something you want to put in there, right? Like, how many people are looking to buy equipment from you guys, right? Because I'm not sure that, you're not in the sales business really, per se, I would think. So I wonder if there's an internal version of this program that shows cost and an external version that just leaves the whole cost discussion off of it.
Well, I don't think the idea was that we'd be selling it so much as it would be an estimate for people like, I need to buy this in my grant, because I want to keep it and I'm not going to send it back, right? So to get some sort of an idea, but we need to make that clear.
Does that happen a lot?
Glenn has a comment about the cost, I think.
Yes, we have to be very careful about listing costs, and we need to put some language around it, like a CYA statement saying that these costs are estimates based on recent procurements. And second of all, I think it is of value to both internal usage and to the external community to have the costs there, because the costs are real. And as we move forward in the future state, we're going to be asked by the National Science Foundation to recover more and more of the costs associated with projects that are not directly funded by EAR and OPP. So I do think it's to the cost way it's depicted.
I'm gonna push back on that a bit. For a community that I consider myself a part of that has been used to having a lending pool provide their equipment for them. And so my community that I'm talking about here would be, people who use expensive seismic equipment for temporary deployments, and that are getting funded by the NSF to do that kind of thing, which is, what people like me would think of this website for. You start flashing a cost number at me if I weren't in the position that I were in, where I know that you're not charging NSF funded projects, I'd have a heart attack.
Yeah.
So, and I would be,
So
I think it's really dangerous.
Yeah.
what if we, so I
Definitely
understand
change it from
internally,
cost to
we want
value.
maybe an equipment, we want to know how much this equipment is worth, so we could have equipment value.
Yeah.
We already have operational costs broken out, so if you choose telemetry, you get, your $50 a month or something. What if we had a consumables cost? So PIs have to buy their own batteries, right?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Would that be helpful?
I mean, maybe, except remember that that's helpful for people who are doing deployments in the US. Unless you want to start surveying global countries and what they charge for deep cycle 100 amp hour batteries. And trust me, that's highly temporally variable. It's going to be tough. And even if you go to places like Alaska, right, where the prices are radically different than they're going to be in the lower 48, and I assume that's true of Hawaii as well. You can do that, but again, you have to make the caveats. These numbers vary, and if they're going to be locationally specific, and they may or may not be available. So, and I don't think that you guys necessarily want to be the ones doing the buying. So, so it's kind of incumbent upon, I think, the PI to shop around and get their best price at the location that they're dealing with. When I did do deployment in the lower 48, is it cheaper for me to buy the equipment where I live and then truck it down? Or is it cheaper for me to buy it locally? Might be slightly more expensive, but it's cheaper than renting a truck, right? So those are decisions the PI is going to make that are vastly more complicated than you really want to get into.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that you might be over-serving.
Yeah. I think I think we need to think about this a little bit more in depth. So thank you very much for bringing that up. I want to move on so that we have time to address the other
one more
parts
question.
of this tool. So thank you very much, Gloria. We'll definitely think about that more. Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Is one idea with the cost perhaps also to explain what value the lending pool is providing? Like if you split it up into consumables and borrowed equipment, that you can say okay, this is actually what our service will save you, roughly estimated. Is this one of the ideas?
I think we generally just need to think about this more. Clearly this is, we have a lot of ideas and we're not going to solve it in this session. There are a lot of other features and I want to make sure we have time
Sure.
To cover the other things. So what are some other thoughts that people have about this tool initially? George.
One thing that I noticed about it, which I will say I thoroughly enjoyed, was that I've used Chrome, Microsoft Edge, and Mozilla Firefox and tried to break it, and all three work. So it seems to be pretty browser agnostic, unless I don't have access to the book side here, but that was definitely a plus. So the GUI itself seems very solid. Tool, essentially not looking at any of the mechanics. I couldn't break anything on the side.
If George can't break it, we're okay. Yeah, I think our group had a comment that the URL link did not work. So, but you should be able to copy and paste the browser link and send it. So I'll say that part is broken. Any other, do you want to, go ahead, Jen. Yeah.
Our group had some comments about the UI experience, just that there were some mismatches between the main window and then when the add
the add window portion of it. We also had some usability comments about the sensors. Would be nice to see them either in an alphabetic kind of a selection list or maybe grouped together.
Did you try to filter?
So here are the filters that I'm playing with here. So you can choose.
And then the one other thing that we saw in the power window itself, it seemed like Erica made this comment that no matter how many batteries you added, it didn't seem like it changed necessarily that window, that the pie chart. And actually, even the pie chart would be nice to be able to toggle that too.
Because that's a load.
It's a
That's the load, yeah. Yeah.
So you're,
Okay.
Load.
It would be nice to see that that being able to toggled between a pie chart and say like a list that has the highest consumption at the top, basically ordering it all the way down, just some other communities. Yep, Erica's got a couple questions.
Yeah, just to add to the pie chart, I was basically just trying to intuitively figure out what it was showing me. And so I was adding multiple instruments and changing the instruments seemed to change the size of the pie slice, but then changing the batteries didn't. And so it seems like it should be like the full pie is 100% of something.
It's 100% of the power consumption.
So
But so what's the unlabeled piece there?
Yeah, the labels.
That's radio. Yeah, the labeling is troubling.
Okay. Yeah, I think having an unlabeled piece really.
I think the
For
labels
me.
don't work
I think
all the
that's-
time.
Yeah.
Since some issues as well.
I saw that too.
I'm gonna go this way. We'll get Tim here real quick and then I'll take it to Durga.
As a quick addition to the UI experience, it seems like some of the buttons could be a little bit smoother. So for example, if you click into like the sensors tab, and then you have to click the add portion of the button rather than being able to click that entire column. Like I would want to be able to click that column to add a sensor rather than go all the way to the right. Or I mean, sorry, that row. Rather than go all the way to the right and click the add button. And then also there's that little info button on the right hand side. And that info button brings you to a different web page. And it seems like that info button could bring up like a pop-up box with limited information and then maybe a link to a separate web page, but you shouldn't necessarily have to go to a web page every time you look for info associated with the sensor.
Points well taken. Thanks, Tim.
First, I thought like the UI was pretty well improved from the first iteration. It was a lot better, but I noticed like for adding large amounts of batteries or solar panels, you have to like click. I wanted to do 36 batteries, so I had to click 36 times. And maybe if you could like type in a number, yeah, that's it. Marianne thought that I had broke the web page because I was just adding 36 batteries. So I think that would make it a little bit more usable.
Yeah, maybe we could also think a little more about what should be inputs, what should be outputs. For example, if I just want to design a basic station, I have a data logger, I have maybe some comms, I have a location and a time period, then I would like to know what are my battery and solar power needs, rather than having to input one battery at a time to see if it adds up, and not even knowing how many solar panels I may need to support those batteries. It could be just maybe a build my station, button that takes care of that.
Okay. I'll come back.
So what is
Analogy.
noisy ESH?
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Weather.
So the ESH, you guys hear me?
Turn yours on.
Yeah, I got it. The ESH is the equivalent sun hours. So when you pick a location on the map, it goes to basically it queries I think it's a NASA database that gives you essentially what the equivalent sun hours is in that location. So if it's a place that has cloud cover, it has a little bit less, daily sun hours on average. Noisy takes, I think it instead of averaging it over a certain period, it gives you the actual value. So you can see that here. I think Laura has it selected here. And then if
Yeah.
you click AC power source, if you turn that on,
Ooh.
there's a finicky AC grid. So you can toggle that and it'll add some random noise, and that's right below the noisy ESH. You can turn that on. It'll turn on the yep, right there. Yeah, it'll kind of add this variability, random variability to the AC grid. That's for deployments in places that don't have very that have kind of challenging AC infrastructure. Wade, did you want to say something?
No, I put it.
Okay, great, yeah.
Yeah, a few comments. The location is a little hard to find. So I know when we click add an element, we have the location on the right hand side. Or it would be nice to have the location map like somewhere above, because that's I think the primary choice is like where we put an instrument.
You can unlock it. So
Okay.
there's a where is that feature?
The green button.
It's right here.
Where did that go? There's a little lock symbol that you can unlock and it'll float the map.
Oh, okay. Didn't find that.
Where?
I think you're thinking of the chart. So if you were to click out of there, Laura, and just scroll down slightly down where the
It's
power
not that.
output is,
Power-
that
It's
lock.
the lock by operational battery percent.
Well, the map would be
Right.
good.
Here.
Another
Oh.
if you it's more evident if you remove the noisy ESH on the solar, but once you pass the Arctic or the Antarctic circle, there's a glitch. I think it's a glitch on the shape of the. So if you go above, yeah, there you go, and then you look at the solar input, you'll see actually that. So there's like a little break. You see a change of slope on the curve. It's hard to see on that screen right now, but there's, yeah, right there, yeah. And so yeah, everything is smooth if you above, well, below the Arctic circles and Atlantic circles, but yeah, when there's polar night, there's that break. I don't know what that is. If it's normal or not. I don't think it is normal. And I had other comments, but I forgot.
Let me go catch Chad and Alex real quick. I just want
I do think it would help to use the word location also in conjunction with the field that currently says equivalent sun hours, because I did spend some time looking around for location because I was like, I saw it. Oh, it was over by sensors, and then I clicked on the green mappy thing. I was like, oh, there's the map, right? Anyhow, so just the word location. I think someone else was saying something similar. Maybe
It'd also be maybe
location,
helpful.
colon.
It took me a hot minute to figure out like the where to put the dates for the deployment. Because initially it was like auto set to 1 year, and I had to ask like, okay, well, how do you deal with the multi-year deployment thing? So maybe have the dates, the date range as a separate line.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And same thing as like Sam mentioned about being able to enter manually on the dates would be a good thing. It's kind of a similar finicky, but not finicky, but difficult to enter.
let Chad be here.
So there were a number of comments about like grouping data loggers, grouping sensors in the domain specific groupings. But I think the larger issue is the reality is a lot of people are probably going to come in here and build a traditional GNSS site or a traditional seismic site. And it might be nice to have a wizard for that, which could then address other issues that you chose seismic template, but no data loggers. You need to fill this in as one of the required steps, or I'm not going to let you go forward. But then similar for the other kinds of deployments.
Yeah. Thanks, Chad.
Yeah, I was just gonna, in a similar vein, just have some sort of validation, because as somebody who's completely new to all of this stuff, doesn't work in this domain, it's really easy to build, like select a bunch of things that don't really go together. So just having some sort of guardrails, like if you choose a certain type of sensor, maybe that restricts all the other options that are available. Or like Chad said, to have a wizard that actually guides you through, I'm building a GNSS station. It just removes all of the anything that's seismic specific. Or
Yeah, we talked about it in my group too, and I almost think maybe there's like we have an advanced toggle that allows you to make
something like a non-traditional choice, but yeah.
You speak in your microphone.
Okay, and if anyone didn't hear me, but I was just saying we had the same comment in our group, and maybe that it's worth having an advanced toggle. Dave, I see your hand is raised. Go ahead. Hi, Dave.
Hi, thank you. First impression, I think it's a great tool. A lot of functionality and customization, which I think is perfect for designing these stations. The Zoom breakout had a couple points about just the user interface, and I think Scott jotted those down, so I'll not repeat all of that, but I think some of the other groups mentioned some of the things we saw. One of the functionalities that I would like to see added is sample rate, at least for GNSS, but I'm sure seismic would like it as well. That has pretty huge implications on power, especially if you're adding telemetry in there. So I think if that could be rolled in somehow, I think that would make this, really take the next step up for letting people kind of build stations themselves before then contacting EarthScope about actually acquiring this equipment, either through purchase or borrowing or however.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Yeah, that is definitely one of the things for the version 2 that we intend to do is have something about the file size, so that I think the data logging rate would work into that, but the file size and how that impacts comms and the power consumption and yeah, so thanks. Yeah, definitely point well taken. Yeah. Any other thoughts, other features you'd like to see, DJ?
So for my group, of course, there's still a lot of stuff, just GUI stuff. We'll get to that. But one of the main concerns was just like, what does the export of the station builder look like? Because at most there is like a URL link that you can have like within the header, but it's not like, just take once you're done with the station builder, just email this to us at EarthScope or have a way to start a submission process. You have to start from scratch through a regular submission process again, and then reference back to the station builder.
Did you try the summary page?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think version 2. I think the idea is once we get this dialed in, version 2 is going to be tied to the PSR system. And so you can go through this, submit a PSR, and it'll hopefully populate some of that PSR for you.
What's a PSR?
Project support request.
Yeah, for us, on the Epic side, if that could tie to the scheduling database, because that's what we use.
Well, I think eventually we're going to have that combined. Scheduling
Right.
database / PSR.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, whatever that tool will be.
And I'm going to say maybe version 3. Can't promise version 2 for that feature. Yeah, but some
We need
feature.
to have the system in place before we can tap into it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm just trying to set realistic expectations. Any other comments, thoughts, ideas? We're bumping up on the end of our hour here, so.
I was going to just got a question for you. We had a bunch of other documents.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
You want me to use this? Okay. You mean you want me to speak into the microphone?
Yes.
Okay. I'll do that. Our group, we basically wrote a bunch of notes on the PowerPoint slide. So we're just going to submit that to you so that we kind of capture those. And I would just maybe open or suggest that the other groups do the same.
Yeah.
Because
Drop them in the Zoom chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, please drop your notes, anything you are willing to share with us in the Zoom chat, or for the folks who are internal in the Slack meeting channel.
I also put your and my email into the Zoom
Yes,
chat for
cool.
any comments to be sent to us.
Yes, please. Yeah, please send us your comments. This link is available. You're welcome to share it with anybody you like. And please continue to give us feedback on this. This has been very helpful. Alex?
Yeah, if you're going to encourage link sharing, it might be nice, like the URLs at a dev subdomain, but it might be nice to have some branding that says this is not a final product. Just so people are thinking that it's prod.
Yeah,
There's
like beta on it somewhere.
There's a splash screen when you first open it that comes up and says that this is still in work in progress.
It might be nice to have something like a sticky.
A little construction stuff. Yeah, okay. No, not everybody reads disclaimers. Great. Any last comments?
Let me just say for the Zoom crowd that I wrote down, I think everything everyone said. So if you vocalized it, you don't need to send it in another form. But if you have extra comments, then yeah, email or please.
Hey, Scott.
I think it's super cool. I mean, it's a great start, and I'm glad you're getting input.
Thank you, Lauren.
Yeah, this is awesome. Actually, this is really, really going to be incredibly helpful. So thank you for putting this together. And already, like, I mean, it's a beta product. I get it, but like, it's pretty slick. So, you know, you're also given how many different audiences you're targeting. You know, they're the things that we've already talked about to move it towards PI land, but it's already such a long way there. So it's pretty great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, one other comment. I was unsure if this is just for designing a single station or if you might be designing a couple at one time. Because if you're planning for multiple at the same time, you're just going to end up with like a big pool of resources, and it might be nice to have them broken out by each site so that you're making sure that you do them appropriately.
Or if you have like, if I wanted to have, you know, 50 short period stations and 20 broadbands, it might be nice to have a template, like, especially if you're going to link this to the scheduler that Panino was talking about, right? Once you take that step, then that's like a whole other thing, rather than sort of theoretically being like, oh, okay, this is what, you know, that type of station might look like. But if you really do want to link this to the schedule, then it might be helpful to be able to say, okay, so this thing that I built, I need 25 of these, right? Because otherwise, if you're just doing this like over and over and over again and clicking somewhere another add button, it might be a little frustrating.
So I think one of the version 2, maybe version 3 things is a station. You create your station and then you clone it, and you might be able, and then you can maybe put those clones into different locations to confirm that they're all going to work properly. So I'm not sure if Mladen knows about that, but that we're definitely thinking of that multi-station networks and how to best use this tool.
Yeah. I mean, so for me, for example, I have 65 stations in Colombia. The power consumption needs from the northernmost to southernmost station, given that it's from like 2 to 7 degrees latitude, makes 0 difference, right? So I don't really need to tell you, you know, that the next station is 10 kilometers further east for this website. So it might also, you know, once you're going again to PI deployments where you're not like, it's not a global network where you're like, okay, this one's going to go on this country and this one's going to go at a completely different latitude. For the PI community, it might be useful to just be able to say, I want 65 of what I just built.
Yeah, I was going to add a quick comment to what you just said, Laura. It could be that goes in, that number goes into the project support request, you know, where you sit there and say, okay, I want this is part of my requirement. This is the station requirement for this.
Right.
I need 65 of them. And that goes into the requirement. And then you also talk about, and I want them shipped, you know, this way, you know, et cetera. So I think you can definitely put that in there.
Yep. Perfect.
Great. Well, I just wanted to thank everybody for your participation. We have a lot of stuff to think about and add. So this was excellent feedback for us. Thank you so much. And we'll be in touch at some point when we have our version 2. Thanks, everybody.